Morning, it's Lance here, best day ever mountain biking, and I'm super excited and very privileged to get to demo the Orbea Wild FS here at Crankworx in Rotorua. It's a pretty awesome looking bike. I'll explain a bit more about the specs on the way up the hill and what I think of it, so come join me. Now, as you can see, I'm here at Crankworx in Rotorua. This is actually my 6th time coming down to Rotorua for Crankworx. Absolutely love it. Now, I'm probably going to come off as sexist here, but you know how women go on holiday and they say they want to go shopping on holiday, and you think that's the worst thing to have to do is to go shopping. But Crankworx for me is a bit like that. I just love all these stands. There's bargains to be had. It's almost a crime not to buy this stuff. I really am sounding like my wife now. I even bought some new knee pads and elbow pads from Raceface. I already had a new set I'd just recently bought, but they were so cheap it just seemed ridiculous not to buy another set. Anyway, I guess we should probably talk a little bit more about this bike. So this looks at an absolute beast. So what battery's got internal? 625. 625, and then when you can strap on 500. 500, that gives a huge amount of range. It does. You could do the old Ghost Road on that, couldn't you? Oh, you probably could. Pretty good, aren't you? I'm keen to give it a go. And so this comes off, you can take this piece off. Yep. And so then you just have it nice and sleek for the riding normally. Yep, still put a drink bottle and stuff in here. Yep. Current form, and then put normal. So yeah. And what mode is it running? The new Gen 4 Bosch. Bosch. Set to 32k speed limit. That's right. That is a beautiful piece of kit. Now, this is going to be a relatively short review. I'm just doing a couple of runs here at Skyline and just working my way up the hill at the moment. Now, if we listen quietly for a little bit, you can hear the motor. Actually pretty acceptable to me. Interestingly, talking regarding the Bosch motors, and this is the Generation 4 Bosch motor, it's a new one. They apparently sometimes can be quite noisy, and when they get to about 400 kilometers that noise does subside, and I can sort of vouch for that a little bit as I demoed 2 other bikes, and you may see the videos on those ones, and they both had the Bosch motor, and one was quite quiet and one was really quite noisy. I actually thought the noisy one was maybe the old motor, but apparently no, that's actually just because the motor's really new, and once it's running, the sound tends to die down. Okay. Go, go, go! The Orbea Wild FS is a 160mm travel 29er, and obviously an e-bike. Now, sometimes if you've watched any of my previous reviews, some bikes get great reviews and some bikes get rubbish reviews. And sometimes I think it's a little bit unfair. You can have a pretty nice bike, but it's got rubbish suspension, rubbish brakes, and as a result, it gets a pretty rubbish review. And if it was better spec'd, it would get a better review. Now, this bike has definitely not got rubbish spec on it. It's got XDR brakes, XDR drivetrain, DT Swiss wheels, Fox 36 fork, and on the rear a Fox DHX2 coil shock. So for that, I'm expecting a pretty awesome ride. Now, I started hitting the jumps up on Mr. Black here, and I'm not particularly good at jumps, as most of you know if you watch my videos, and I was still casing the jumps, but this thing was super plush. Felt really nice to ride. I think if I could have 2 or 3 more runs at this track, I think I would really have the confidence just to let it go, because certainly as you did the jumps, you didn't get bucked or kicked at all. Likewise, the brakes, XDR brakes, you can't really go wrong with that. Like the cockpit, straight up, all the levers felt to be in the right places. It's surprising, and that's my pet hate, you'll hear me say many times, is that you'll jump on a bike and you think the setup's so crazy you can't understand how anyone could ride it. But this thing just jumped on it, got riding, and felt super natural. Alright, just stopped to let some riders get past, a bit of dusty and they're going a bit slow. This thing is super fun, confidence inspiring to jump straight away and unbelievably plush, but it's a pretty nice spec, so I guess it's to be expected. Anyway, I'm going to have more of a play. Okay, so this is a 160mm 29er that's specced out really nice, but wait, there's more. The thing that really attracted my eye to this bike is it's got a 625 watt internal battery that can be removed and charged. You say, well, that's not very exciting, Lance, but the exciting bit is you can add on another 5 500 watt hour battery onto the frame, and the attachment is removable, so the bike doesn't look ugly when you don't need the extra power. So that's an amazing capacity. You could do some serious long rides. In fact, this must have the highest capacity of any e-bike that I know of. So you could ride it as a 625 hour watt battery the vast majority of the time, and that would be more than adequate. But if you decided to do a really big epic ride, you could bump that up. Let me do a quick math, 1125 watt hours. Now that is awesome. So I must admit, very, very tempting to get one of these. Now, riding up the hill, you can see motor has no trouble keeping up with the slopestyle boys. I did have to stop at the top for a little bit. Emil Johansson was in the front, and he wanted to get a selfie with me and get a little bit of tips on jumping, so I had to stop for a bit.
Well, so far I'm absolutely loving this bike. Did Mr. Black, which is kind of flow jumps track. So I think we'll try it on a bit of tech now down BYO. Don't have any knee pads, elbow pads, and I'm terrified of scratching this bike, so we're going to take it pretty easy.
Okay, so we started with Mr. Black, which was a flow jumps trail, and it seems only fair to try out a bit of a tech trail. So into BYO we go. This was fairly steep, loose, dry, and did I think it was a reasonable good test for the bike. Now you may be thinking, Lance, why are you riding like an old nana? And to be fair, I'm on a $16,000 bike. This wasn't your typical sort of rental or demo that you go out, smash it up, return it back broken. This was a bike that I really promised I would look after and bring back without a scratch on it, which was my intention coming down here. Now the bike does have some other cool features. Now on the handlebar, if you noticed on the typical Bosch motor, they have this ugly box that is not very ergonomically friendly, and it's just not, looks really old-fashioned. So this has got a nice little shifter on the left-hand side. It is a little bit overly complicated. When I first tried it, I got confused with the buttons, and it asked me whether I wanted to reset my ride or something. I'd pressed the wrong button. But I think once you got used to that, that wouldn't be an issue. Another cool thing is that little screen. You can take that off. It has all sorts of data, maximum speed, average speed, distance traveled, yada yada yada, and you can link that with your phone as well, and Strava and all sorts of things. But what I thought was quite cool is that you can register the bike, and if you take that screen off and someone was to steal your bike, the bike is completely useless to them. Even if they took it to a dealer and said they'd lost their screen, without the right numbers and things like that, you can't replace it, and so basically the bike, they can't steal your bike and use it. So I thought that was pretty cool. The battery on the bike also has you need a lock to take it off, and the key, which is quite clever, you can actually place in the headset, so you can, when you're riding around, you've got the key with you, which is quite a good idea, because even a friend of mine on Dad's Army, he went out for a ride, had a problem, realised the key was at home, and he couldn't take the battery out. So yeah, another nice little finishing touch. As for the bike, I must admit, when I bought my e-bike, I didn't even consider the Orbea, to be honest, and I didn't even know about it. But after riding this thing, seeing the specs on it, seeing the battery, how big it is, 29er, 160 travel, this would have been a serious consideration. This is a great piece of kit. And if you're comparing it money-wise with something like the Santa Cruz Heckler, 27.5 wheels, 500 watt hour battery, that thing, I haven't tried it, would have to ride unbelievably amazing for you not to choose the Orbea over the top of it, just simply on value for money and what it offers. Anyway, I like the bike, so anyway, if you're interested, certainly see if you can get a demo and check one out.
Well, you can probably tell from the review, I really quite like this bike. I hope you found it useful. Quite an expensive bike, but it really is a machine. If you like the video, click about there to subscribe. Probably have another video up there for you, and we'll see you on the next one.